Hey everyone, welcome to the 7th part of my 12-part series covering the coastal ferry journey from Bergen to Kirkenes and then back to Bergen during winter. On this day we will be sailing from Vadsø to Berlevåg, stopping in the ports of Kirkenes, Vardø and Båtsfjord. My name is Emma and I'm an Australian who has lived here in Norway for more than 10 years. I work as a local guide in Bergen as well as a trip leader, taking groups throughout the Nordic region. I have an online travel blog called The Hidden North, and last year I released an in-depth guide for the Norwegian coastal ferry. In that guide you can find all the information from today's video and all the videos that I'm releasing about the coastal ferry. My book is a day-by-day guide for what you can see along the coast and what you can do in the ports. I absolutely love the coastal ferry and hope that after these videos you'll be booking a trip to Norway. If you've already booked your coastal ferry journey, then I hope these videos will inspire you to be outside as much as possible. If you've already been on the coastal ferry, this should be like a trip down memory lane. Before we get started, it's essential to know that this is not a review of the ships, nor am I focusing on a specific company or ship. I don't focus on the daily program, onboard activities, or meal times. Instead, my goal is to give an overview of the sailing route, what you can see from the ship as it sails along the Norwegian coast, and what makes the ports so special. I also want to specifically show what the coastal ferry journey looks like in winter, and how dramatically the weather and the daylight can change. All filming was done between February 2024 and May 2025. I took 4 northbound trips and 3 southbound trips. I also show some photos from the summer months so you can see how things normally look in summer. So Day 7. Day 7 is the turnaround day for the coastal ferry, where it goes from being the northbound route to the southbound route. Many passengers only do either the northbound or the southbound journey, so there's a lot of activity once the ship arrives in Kirkenes at 9 a.m. Day 7 is also such a unique day because you are now standing further east than Cairo and St. Petersburg, and you are standing about as close as you can get to the Russian border. It's a fascinating part of the world and also very beautiful. I will also say that I have never done the full 12-day coastal ferry cruise. I've only ever done the northbound or the southbound journeys. When I boarded the ship to film for this in April and May of 2025, I actually left in Kirkenes and flew back to Bergen for a few days before returning to Kirkenes to do the southbound journey. I actually really enjoy the southbound routes. I'm going to be on board in February 2026. It's often less popular, but you pass some of the most beautiful places in Norway that you miss because you're asleep on the northbound route. So I really like southbound. I'm so excited to finally show it. Let's get started. I think many people are distracted by the fact that they're leaving the ship, that they often forget to look outside. You wake up in the port of Vadsø, which is a stunningly beautiful little town. It's also an important historic town, so it is worth dragging yourself away from packing or just get out of bed to see Vadsø. If you're going on the southbound journey, you actually do not dock in Vadsø. It's only on the northbound journey. Vadsø is located on the Vanger Peninsula, which you've been sailing along since Berlevåg the night before. People have lived in this area for 9,000 years, with the first people being the Sami. Starting in the late medieval period, Norwegian and Finnish immigrants began to settle in the area. The Finnish immigrants became known as the Kven people. Originally, the settlement was on the island, which is where the ship docks in Vadsø, but at the start of the 18th century, the town was moved over to the mainland, which is where it is today. Renowned Norwegian polar explorer Roald Amundsen used Vadsø as a base for his airship exploration. He believed airships were ideal for exploring uncharted Arctic regions, and Vardø was the departure point for journeys to the Arctic. The airship departed Vadsø in 1926 and went to Ny-Ålesund on Svalbard before reaching the North Pole and then landing in Alaska. The mast used for the airship is visible from the ship. Vadsø was occupied during the war and bombed by the Allies in 1944. However, 1/3 of the town's buildings were left standing, and in Vadsø there are more preserved pre-war buildings than anywhere else in Finnmark. Vadsø was rebuilt after the war, and today fishing is really important for the town. However, Vadsø is also known for its diverse cultural heritage, particularly the contributions of the Sami and the Kven people. the ship leaves Vadsø, you will cross the wide Vanger Fjord towards Kirkenes. This fjord is about 90 kilometres long and 55 kilometres wide, and it is very well known for its large population of red king crab. The red king crab was introduced by Soviet scientists in the 1960s with the aim of establishing a commercially valuable species in the region. The crabs were released in the Murmansk area, and over the following decades they spread west, eventually appearing in Norwegian waters. Since they have no natural predators, they thrive here, and are therefore heavily fished. Again, this is the morning where you're rushing to get out of your cabin, checkout is at 8 a.m, and you want to get breakfast before the ship arrives in Kirkenes at 9. Or maybe you're still a little bit green from the night before. Those who watched the Day 6 video know what I'm talking about. I will say that I never pay attention to this morning when I'm traveling with a group. I'm trying to get organized and ready for the day. I never bother to look outside. However, when I was on board the ship for myself in May, I made an effort to stay outside the whole way into Kirkenes, and I must say I found a new love and appreciation for this stretch of sailing. The rock formations around Kirkenes are amongst the oldest in Norway, if not all of Europe, and the landscape is unlike anywhere else in the country. It's a beautiful place, and I really do recommend trying to see at least some of it on the journey, especially if you're getting off the ship in Kirkenes. If you're going southbound, then you will see it as you leave port at 12:30. So the ship arrives into Kirkenes at around 9 a.m, but they do not let you off the ship immediately. A cleaning crew comes on board, and then the expedition team and the crew on board the ship, they take all the suitcases off and line them up. They try to get those people going off on excursions or to the airport off the ship first, but it's not always successful. It can be a little bit chaotic in the morning, but it's short-lived. Doesn't last long. This is where many passengers leave the ship to fly to Oslo or go to Finland, and the remaining passengers book an excursion. However, if you choose to hang around in Kirkenes, it's very easy to walk from the town to the ship, and there are some pretty interesting places here. For centuries, the Sami people lived in Kirkenes. The area around Kirkenes was a joint Norwegian-Russian district until 1826, when the current borders were established. In 1902, iron ore deposits were found here, so Norwegians and Russians began moving here to take part in the mining. The early town was shaped by a very distinctive Russian influence. Kirkenes played a dramatic role during World War II. The town was occupied by the Nazis, who stationed over 300,000 troops in the area. Due to the town's proximity to Murmansk, the only Russian Arctic port free from German control, Kirkenes became a key background. The town suffered relentless bombing, and over 300 raids left Kirkenes in ruins. The front lines between Kirkenes and Murmansk was one of the most brutal of the war, where tens of thousands of soldiers perished, many succumbing to the bitter cold of minus 40 degrees Celsius. In October 1944, Kirkenes was liberated by Soviet soldiers. After the war, Kirkenes faced a slow and difficult recovery. Mining operations resumed in 1952, bringing prosperity back to the region as iron ore became a valuable resource in Europe's post-war rebuilding efforts. Today, Kirkenes is an important military town, with the garrison Vanger located close to the airport. One of the main industries here is ship repairs, particularly for Russian fishing ships. But since the war, the industry here has been hard hit. Walking around Kirkenes, you will see Russian and Norwegian influence. You can visit the Andersgrotte bunker, which was built in the latter years of the war for civilians. The ship offers excursions down there as well. Otherwise, you can walk into town to Kirkenes Church and to the main square. The main square is particularly interesting as you can see street signs in Norwegian and Cyrillic. It's kind of unique. The most popular excursions head to the Russian border, but honestly, there's not much to see there. It's just a border. You don't see Russia. I'd pick an excursion to the Kirkenes Snow Hotel, which is a beautiful place. There you can do husky excursions, king crab safaris, or just explore the year-round snow hotel. If you're only doing the Southbound trip, you should spend the night at Kirkenes Snow Hotel before boarding the ship. It is an amazing place to stay. I love those cabins. Now it is time to head south. Welcome to the Southbound route. Everyone returns from their excursions and the ship sets sail south, though you do actually sail north first. North and then west. You head back out into the Vanger Fjord, but this time you do skip the port of Vadsø and head straight to the next port of call, Vardø. As you get close to Vardø, you'll be able to see the Vanger Peninsula on the port side. This peninsula is stunningly beautiful and unlike anything else in Norway. I did actually film a road trip around the peninsula in 2023, so I do recommend checking it out. The landscape is old by Scandinavian standards, and the peninsula was formed before the last ice ages. The area is a meeting place for plant species from the northern Arctic, eastern Siberia, and more southern plants. The small forests in the area are the northernmost in the world. The peninsula is an important habitat for Arctic fox, though reindeer and wolverine are also found here. It's also one of the most important areas in Norway for breeding populations of birds. From the ship, however, you can see the mountain Dommen, the dome. This was known as the Witch's Mountain, as it is mentioned many times in Norway's famous witchcraft trials as a meeting point for witches. The Vardø region had some of the worst witch hunts in Europe, with 30 women in Vardø being accused of witchcraft in 1662. And think how small this town would have been back then. Many confessed under duress that they had danced, drunk, and made pacts with the devil on the mountain Dommen. The mountain was said to host their Sabbaths and ceremonies, where they gained supernatural power. According to legend, the devil lives in a cave on Dommen. Vardø's remote location, seemingly at the end of the world, fueled speculation that it was the entry to hell, perhaps explaining why witch burnings were widespread here. In the whole county of Finnmark, 100 women were executed for witchcraft in the 17th century. And you have to imagine most of these villages only had populations of 10 to 50 people, so that's a very high number. Shortly before docking in Vardø, you'll pass the island of Hornøya on the starboard side. If travelling in the warmer months, do keep an eye out for puffins. I have seen puffins here. Hornøya is a popular bird island. On the port side, you'll pass the Globus radar system, which is operated by the Norwegian Intelligence Service with cooperation from the United States. Sadly, both my February and November sailings skipped Vardø due to strong winds. This is not uncommon in winter, though disappointing. Vardø's harbour is very narrow and the ship has to turn around to enter the harbour, so with strong winds it can't do that. Thankfully, my ship docked here in May, so I could get some footage, and I did also have some photos and videos from previous winter sailings, so I could show you what it looked like. Vardø is honestly one of my favourite ports. I've spent some time in this town and I really love how remote and isolated it is. Vardø is the easternmost town in Norway and one of the oldest towns in Norway, along with Hammerfest, which we will visit on day 8. Vardø is located further east than St. Petersburg, Kiev and Cairo. Vardø is 20 degrees east of Oslo, which implies a time difference of 1 hour and 20 minutes. Human settlement in Vardø goes back 4,500 years, and the town was first mentioned in documents in the year 1307. Around this time, King Håkon V built a fortification here. Today, Vardø is the world's northernmost fortified town, with the present-day fort from the early 18th century. Vardø was a main base for the Pomor trade, which was trade between Arctic Norway and Arctic Russia. During the 1890s, an average of 384 Russian ships arrived in Vardø each year, while 361 Norwegian ships went to Russia. Wealthy Russians travelled to the town to buy supplies, and their presence brought vibrancy to Vardø's streets with their distinctive attire, harmonious singing, and lively ring-style dancing on the quay. The Russian Revolution abruptly ended Pomor trade, and the subsequent economic downturn led to bankruptcy among Vardø's traders. Decades later, Vardø and Arkhangelsk rekindled their historic ties, becoming twin towns in 1989. During World War II, Vardø was crucial in monitoring Allied shipping movements to Russia. The city was bombed heavily and 2/3 of the town were destroyed. Today, the town relies a lot on fishing, but there is also new development to bring tourism and other industry here. Vardø is on an island and it is connected to the mainland via a subsea tunnel. This opened in 1983 and was the first subsea tunnel in Norway. Vardø Airport is on the mainland and has flights to Kirkenes. Vardø is the only town in Western Europe that lies entirely within the Arctic climate zone, which means that summer temperatures rarely exceed 10 degrees Celsius. However, this is changing due to climate change. No trees grow here except for a few small trees in the locals' gardens, and one in the fortress. The ship docks in Vardø for under an hour, which is plenty of time to go out for a quick walk. The expedition team often lead a walk to Vardø Fortress, which is only 5 to 7 minutes away on foot. It's really close. The current fortress was completed in 1738, and within the fortress walls are a number of buildings from 1825. During World War II, this was the last place in Norway to surrender to the Nazis. Outside the fortress is a statue of King Håkon VII. He was the King of Norway from 1905 until 1957 and visited Vardø in the 1910s. From the fortress, you can see Stalneset Memorial. This commemorates all the people who were accused of witchcraft. It's open all the time, and inside are plaques explaining all the stories of the men and women who were accused and executed for being witches. Unless you're a fast walker, it's probably not possible to reach there during the ship's stay in Vardø. I did film inside when I was on a road trip, just so you can see what it looks like inside. Vardø also has a lot of street art, as there were numerous projects here to put up art to revitalise the town. The best one, in my opinion, was the Codfather. It was right by the pier, but unfortunately it was destroyed because they're building new buildings there. But I did keep some photos and I just want to show them because I loved this artwork. From the ship, you can clearly see Vardø Church, built in 1958, as well as the Globus radar systems and the town centre. After leaving Vardø, you head out into the Barents Sea, which is not known for being a very calm sea. You will almost always feel some movement here. On the port side will be the Vanger Peninsula, and it's just so beautiful to look at. I've included a lot of clips because I just think it's amazing. If you have a good eye, 1 hour after leaving Vardø, you'll pass the ghost town of Humningberg on the port side. I was able to get a photo of it from the ship. Shortly before arriving into Båtsfjord, you'll enter the fjord of the same name, Båtsfjord, and you can often tell because the waves do come down quite a lot. Båtsfjord is one of the most active communities on the Vanger Peninsula, with over 2,000 people living here. The landscape around Båtsfjord was formed before the last ice ages, with the glaciers not impacting the landscape here. Båtsfjord holds the title of Norway's largest fishing community, with over 7,000 vessels docking here every year. The town's fish processing industry has created a dynamic, multinational workforce, making it an exciting place to visit and experience. The modern settlement was built up here in the 19th century, with many Finns moving here. By 1909, Båtsfjord was a thriving fishing village with 4,000 fishermen gathering here during peak fishing seasons. During World War II, Båtsfjord was one of the least damaged towns in Finnmark during the German scorched earth retreat of 1944. 27 houses were destroyed, but most of the town remained intact, so Båtsfjord was a crucial supply base for Finnmark after the war. The ship docks out of town, but you can see the town centre from the port side, including Båtsfjord Church from 1971. The large mast is the Hamnefjell transmitter, which is 241 metres high and one of Norway's tallest structures. The journey to Berlevåg is short, and maybe by now you'll be tucked away in bed. You do get to Berlevåg just before 10:30 p.m. However, I do recommend staying awake. If you watch Day 6's video, you know why. Entering Berlevåg is wonderful to watch as the ship navigates past huge breakwaters protecting the town from the North Sea. When I filmed for Day 6, I got barely any footage, only nighttime footage, due to the ship skipping the port. But thankfully, for this day, we did actually dock in Berlevåg, so I stayed up especially to get some nice footage of the town. I could have included it on Day 6, but it didn't feel right, so I'm going to put it here. Lastly, this is an excellent day for Northern Lights. I have some clips of the Northern Lights that I got in November 2024, and honestly, this was one of the best shows I'd had. However, I remember it was so insanely windy that we were hiding behind cover, sort of around the back of the ship, and then we would quickly jump out to get photos and videos. I was even all holding onto a pole at one point. That is the downside to this part of Norway. It's often so windy or wavy or just bad weather, but still, looking back, it was worth it to get these videos. These were filmed on my phone, and those who've seen the Northern Lights before know it is very difficult to film on a phone because you need to have really strong Northern Lights just to even get them to show up on the camera. So I'm quite proud of this. And that's it for day 7. This is a big day as the ship turns around in Kirkenes, but it's not just a practical day. It's not just about getting to the airport. Eastern Finnmark County is beautiful with a rich history and connection to Russia, which is not too far away. It's a day you may experience some bad weather, but you may also get amazing northern lights. Tomorrow is day 8, where the focus of the day is the visit to Hammerfest, the northernmost city in the world with a population over 10,000 people. I have to say it like that because Hammerfest and Honningsvåg argue over who is the northernmost city. In the evening, the ship visits the port of Sjøvoy, marking the end of your visit to Finnmark County. And for those brave enough to stay awake until midnight, you get to visit Tromsø, the capital of the Arctic. The scenery tomorrow is incredible and so different from what you've seen so far on the journey. If you're looking for a handy guide containing all the information in today's video and so much more, including self-guided walking tours for all the ports, what you can see from the ship when docked, and highlights from the sailing route, be sure to pick up a copy of my Coastal Ferry Guidebook. I have put a link in the description. I will see you in the next video. Day 8, Hummerfest, Chevoy, and amazing views.